this is your pharmacist Sidra and welcome to Pharmacy Tech Study Guide. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what is a drug recall, types of drug recall, and what steps you need to take as a pharmacy tech once you find out that a particular drug is recalled in pharmacy. So as a pharmacy technician, your first and foremost concern is patient safety, right? So it's important that you familiarize yourself with the drug recall process just so you don't dispense any potentially harmful medication to the patient. All right, so going back to the topic that what is a drug recall? A drug recall occurs when a prescription or over-the-counter medication is removed from the market because it's found either defective or potentially harmful to the public. Sometimes the manufacturers of the drugs discover a problem with their drug and they will actually voluntarily recall it. In other cases, FDA will recall the medication once they have received reports of problems with the drug from public. There are actually a number of factors that can cause a drug to recall, but mainly it could be because either a medication has a potentially health hazard or it's mislabeled, the instructions on the label are not very clear, or it's actually poorly labeled. A drug could be recalled also if the medication is contaminated, the medication is not what it says on the label. For example, you may think that you are taking a pain reliever based on the packaging label, but in fact there is maybe something else in the medication. Now, after the initial announcement of drug recall, FDA categorizes drug recall under one of the three categories based on how serious the problem is or how much harm a medication may or may not cause. There are different kinds of recalls like Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. Class 1 recalls are most serious type. According to FDA, in this type of recall, a drug has a defect that could actually cause a serious health problem or even death. For example, in 2014, a batch of gabapentin was recalled. Now, gabapentin is a medication used to treat nerve pain and seizures. Now, this particular batch of gabapentin was recalled because it was found that there were some empty capsules left in the batch. Now, of course, the empty capsules could lead to missed doses. So the patients taking this medication could either face decreased effectiveness of the medication, which can lead to potential seizures or no control of pain. Another great example would be Zantac. Now, a lot of you must be familiar with this over-the-counter medications, which was used for acidity control or heartburn. And it was taken off the market in April 2020 because a cancer-causing contaminant was found in the medication. All right, so the next category of drug recall is Class 2 recall. This is the most common type of recall because it involves drugs that might cause temporary health problem or maybe just pose a slight threat of serious nature. For example, recently, one lot of children's Advil was recalled due to overdosing concerns related to the labeling error. So what happened was the dosing cup was marked in teaspoons and the instructions on the label were described in milliliters. So it's kind of very contradictory and it was hard to determine the teaspoons and milliliters. All right, so the third category is the Class 3 recall. This is the least serious type of recall. FDA defines such recall as the drugs that are unlikely to cause any adverse health reaction, but they still violate the FDA labeling or maybe manufacturing law. For example, in 2008, fentanyl patches, which are used for pain control, were recalled because the fentanyl gel inside the patch was leaking out of the patch, which could expose the caregiver or the patient to the medication without actually, applying the patch, only just when they're handling the patch. Now, once the recall happens, how you as a pharmacy technician must deal with the drug recall. Now, first of all, of course, you have to get notified about the recalls. The pharmacy actually get notified of drug recalls through a number of sources like Board of Pharmacy will send an email, manufacturers send letters to each pharmacy. If the pharmacy is owned by a large corporation, then that organization will notify each of their pharmacies. The bottom line is that whatever way you find out about the recall, you as a pharmacy technician must know how to handle it. So once you find out that a certain drug is recalled, you should immediately remove all of the affected medications from the pharmacy inventory. Not only check the pharmacy shelves, but also remove the medications from any automatic machines and any ready bins. Relay the information to the customers who come in to fill the prescription of that recalled drug. Also, look up the work queue or go through the prescription record. If you find out a patient who has recently picked up the recalled medication, then you should inform the customer as well. And once the patient brings the medication to pharmacy, make sure you properly dispose it. You can either send it back to the wholesaler or whatever the disposition protocol of that pharmacy is. But make sure while you're waiting for disposition of the medication, you properly quarantine the medication in a designated area of pharmacy. And that area or the bucket where you have the medication must have a note or signage that should say something like do not use, or it's a recalled medication, just so that medication is not accidentally put back to the pharmacy inventory. So you also have to notify the physicians of these customers who are on these recalled medications so that the provider can change the medication to something else and there is no gap in the treatment of the patient. Now, a lot of times customers get panicked once they receive the recall notice, either just directly from the company or the pharmacy, and they don't know what to do. So offer them to speak to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist can actually suggest another alternative, work with the provider about getting a different medication. If it's an over-the-counter medication, they can just, stop taking it right away and can return the medication to pharmacy. In that case, the pharmacy can offer them refund based on the pharmacy policies. But the bottom line is if your patient is all panicked because of the recall, just have them speak to the pharmacist so the pharmacist can actually explain them about the nature of the recall, like how severe the recall is, whether it's going to be really injurious to their health or it's just maybe a manufacturing issue in terms of labeling or something else. Basically, the pharmacist should be able to talk to them and kind of calm them down and discuss the alternatives with them just so there's no gap in their treatment. Also educate them about the side effects they could expect with the use of the recalled medication and basically just like comfort the patient. Alright, so that's it for today's video. Now you know why drugs are recalled, types of recalls, and as a pharmacy technician, how you can support your pharmacist in handling the drug recalls. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video with another great topic that will help you pass the PTCB exam. Until then, take care. Bye.